what's the big difference here? We're fighting the same struggles. And every presenter afterwards was talking. I was like, we're all fighting the same fight. We're struggling in the same exact topic. So yeah, it was very welcoming afterwards.
What if one conversation could save a life? What if one new process or new product could save a patient from surgical harm? Broadcasting from a hospital basement near you, you're listening to the Beyond Clean Canada podcast, the voice of medical device reprocessing from C to C to C. Each week, we spotlight the people, processes, and products from around the country and the world that are disrupting our profession and helping you fight dirty. Every instrument, every time. Join us as we have the kinds of conversations that matter and give our industry the kind of voice that it deserves. And now it's time to go True North strong and beyond clean.
Welcome all you clean freaks. We have such an exciting episode for you today. We have Jesse Lopez on, ready to bring you tons of energy and his insight into stirring the pot when it comes to sterile processing. Sit back, buckle up, enjoy.
From the studios of Healthcare HQ, you're listening to Beyond Clean Canada, the voice of sterile processing from C to C to C.
We want to welcome Jesse Lopez today on the Beyond Clean Canada podcast with Stacey and Barry. Welcome, Jesse. How are you doing today? And can you share a bit about yourself with us and your audience?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on the show, and just trying to get through this chilly weekend here in Jersey. So,
Oh my gosh. Jesse, you have a lot of letters behind your name. One, congratulations on that, you clean freak. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your journey into the sterile processing world?
Sure thing. Well, again, my name is Jesse Lopez, and yes, I have every alphabet behind my name. Because I got into this field actually coming off of the veterinary technician field. I was a veterinary technician, certified veterinary tech for 8 years, and I went through midlife crisis and didn't know what else I wanted to do with my life. So I wound up becoming a surgical technologist for about 5 years. And I was fortunate that through my program, my Surg Tech, we were able to do sterile processing side by side. And I quickly fell in love with the chaos of sterile processing. I got into a department that was actually very well organized, but as I started learning more about sterile processing, I seen that what we talk about in conferences didn't match what we did in real life. Almost like when you read the driver's manual and it says 65 miles per hour and you see people driving 120. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I wind up meeting an individual who was actually certified in the field. I didn't know anything about certification because the facility I worked at allowed surgical techs to be sterile processing technicians. And I worked those roles dual side by side. At that point, Pennsylvania didn't require certification, but this individual had 3 certifications in the field. And I was like, what is that? And being the person that I am is when I get into something, I try to be a master of everything. So I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, but better than a master of one. So I found out about the certifications and I went into it. And again, I fell in love with this field because, again, the chaos and it didn't align. And when I was starting to train people, I started seeing so many inconsistencies. And I was like, you know something? I want to be the person that when individuals have questions, they come to me. So I took every opportunity I could to get every certification from both certifying bodies and from anything else that was related to sterile processing. And my journey still continues because there's a couple more I'm gunning for as well.
Yeah, I think Hank Belch calls you the certificate collector, I think. doesn't
Yeah,
he?
that is correct. Yes, yes, I am. But something in light of that, there's a different, and when Hank gave me that title, it's, I kind of think about what we have in the field going on as well. I'm not only a collector, I practice what I preach, and I actually put it into play. Anybody can get a certification, but is it understanding what you do and being able to relate to that? And I feel as though that I'm that individual.
That's awesome, man. This kind of flows into our next question for you, Jesse. You are known as an outside-the-box thinker and constantly challenge standards and industry norms. You have a program called Stir That Pot. Can you share with our audience just what you do on that and with that program? Because it's fantastic.
Sure. Stir That Pot came about, honestly, from my frustration going to seminars and conferences and hearing all the great stuff that sterile processing does. In my career, I was a traveler and I've been to different facilities. And as I listened to the conferences, I go in my head. I don't say it out loud because I don't want to be rude, because I can be a little bit too frank. I was like, why are you lying to these people? We don't do this. It's like, and again, you're preaching to the wrong audience. When we go to conferences, all the store processors know that, yes, we should be doing this, and yes, we should be doing that. But what about you preach this to the management and to leadership and to the CEOs to make those changes? So I created Stir the Pot to really get people's minds thinking about, this is what you're seeing in the field. And this is what we're educating. And this is what our certification body tells us that we should be doing. And this is what the standards state in black and white. Why aren't we doing these things? And it's again, we're not going to make any changes until somebody makes noise, and I'm going to make that noise.
Yeah. Stacy and I have talked about it, and we love it, man, what you're doing there. And, and you touched on it there. We found what it does. It gets technicians thinking critically outside the box as well, just not robot thinking, Yeah,
and going back, Jesse, to attending the conferences and then preaching to us techs. And yes, we know that that's the way it should be. That's the way we're doing it. But it was like nail on the coffin when you said they're preaching to the wrong people, because it's the higher ups that need to be hearing it. It's the managers that need to be attending these conferences and listening to this as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, Jesse, you have a true compassion when it comes to the decontamination and preparation portion of sterile processing department. Now, what do you feel is the importance when it comes to the layout and how crucial it is to workflow and breakdown?
I'm sorry, repeat that. What was that last statement? I'm sorry.
Do that one again. Sorry. Jesse, you have a true compassion when it comes to decontamination and the preparation. How important do you feel and crucial it is to a department, the layout of a decontamination and preparation area?
It's honestly, yes, I do have a passion for the decon, because that's where it all starts at. If you get that wrong, you know what they say, what happens downhill, it just keeps rolling and it gets worse and worse. Because again, we always preach patient safety, and we rarely ever see a patient, but it starts with our safety. If decon gets it wrong, we're jeopardizing the person who's handling these instruments afterwards, which is our teammate. That flow is crucial, because again, you don't ever wash your clothes at home and then take it right back to the muddy water or whatever playground you had and go backwards and try to hang them up or fold them. You always go that one-way flow. That one-way flow is crucial, not only for the safety of the individuals working in decontamination, but also for the successful processing of those instruments. We're already working against the elements, hot water, you got all these PPE on, slippery floors. You're going back and forth. You're kind of just doing double the work. So extremely important.
Absolutely. And that comes down to our hand wash only instrumentation as well. Now, what do you feel is the important steps that often are missed when it comes to hand wash only in preparation, that it is safe for handling on the prep side?
Correct. Yes. And that's one of the things that I think we need to educate more on in this industry, because there's a difference between hand washing and hand preparation. And I don't think we reiterate that enough to our technicians. When you're hand washing, you're putting brush and sponge to every item that goes into that sink. Manual preparation, the washer is doing the bulk of that work after we remove that gross soil. We're not scrubbing 150 instruments. We're scrubbing only what we visually see that's dirty. But with manual cleaning, in order to get that safety margin for handling, we have to scrub everything, even the stuff that we don't feel looks dirty. Hey, it don't look dirty. Yeah, it is. There's microorganisms on there. We need to get that off of there.
Absolutely.
So that flow is definitely important.
I agree. And I'm going to kind of jump a little bit forward here. So when it comes to those hand washing instrumentations, boroscopes in the workplace, why every place should have one. Do you agree, Jesse?
I do agree. But you know something, coming from a facility that uses boroscopes, man, I done went through 12 boroscopes in the matter of a year.
Oh, yeah?
They're so fragile and them things are so expensive. And it's crazy because, again, it's not a one size fit all. So you have to find creative solutions to be able to utilize them. And then trying to implement people to use it is another challenge whatsoever. And they're just as important on the decon side as they are in the prep and pack side. Yes, I believe every facility that can afford them should jump on the bandwagon and put it somewhere in their budget because, you know, when it comes to lumen devices, those are the silent killers right there. Those are the ones that's going to get you in the end because when it goes through that sterilizer, whatever's in there is going to pour right on out.
Yep. So 12. You guys went through about 12 scopes, eh?
Yes. My technicians are rough with them. They try to shove them down lumens that they don't fit, and you got some tapered lumens and then they rip them out like rip cords. And once you shred them, that's it. It's a wrap. That's it. You can't put tape and fix it.
No, you can't. They are very, very fragile. They are very fragile.
That's a very realistic take on the boroscope, Jesse. I think that's the most realistic one that I've heard, man. So thank you for that. And you've already been to Canada and presented at the MDRA conference. How was that experience coming to Canada, and what was your biggest takeaway from that?
All right, how frank can I be on this question? Because this one hit home to me very, very dear. I think the initial reception for me coming to Canada wasn't very well welcomed because I guess they looked at my topic and was like, something, you guys do stuff that we don't do. Because when I was talking to a lot of the technicians there, manual cleaning, the way we do it here in the U.S., is really not accepted worldwide. We do our 3-sink method, and I've had German counterparts come over and look at our sinks and go, what do you guys do in that sink there? Like, what's that set up for? And I'm like, that's the manual cleaning. And they're like, no, we don't do that. The washer does the work. And I think Canada kind of adopts that practice as well. There's not a lot of manual cleaning done at the sinks. It's really high reliance in the washers. And my whole presentation was on that manual preparation. And initially that topic was looked at like, he don't know what he's talking about, until I actually presented it in a video. I wind up showing it in a video and they're looking at it like, wow. And that acceptance afterwards was such a, I don't want to get emotional, but it was such a warm welcome. I felt a lot of love afterwards. So that experience alone was fantastic. It was such a euphoric experience because everyone was then asking me questions and, wanted to know a little bit more. And when we're talking about the CSA standards over there, the Canadian standards versus the AAMI standards, they aligned so much. And I'm like, what are you guys like? What's the big, difference here? We're fighting the same struggles. And every presenter afterwards was talking. I was like, we're all fighting the same fight. We're struggling in the same exact topic. So yeah, it was very welcoming afterwards.
That's great to hear, though. Great to hear that, man.
When the CSA standards are being developed and changed, they do pull a lot from the AAMI just for advice. So yeah, they do align quite often. Jesse, can you go into the process of the 3-sink?
Yes. Yeah, we do the 3-base sink process. Yeah.
And then that is enzymatic rinse.
Actually, no. That's
explain.
That is such a pet peeve of mine. The 3-base sink should go rinse, wash, rinse. Okay.
Okay.
Because pre-treatment, again, for OSHA standards say you can't mix chemicals of any kind unless the IFUs allow for it. So if you're using a pre-treatment gel, foam, or spray at points of use, which everyone should be doing, the enzymatic or detergent that we use in decontamination is not the same chemical. So if you're soaking in that first bay, you are mixing chemicals, which is a regulatory fine. The first initial rinse, just like you would go home. If you're doing, I love to use descriptions of everyday usage. When you're doing your dishes at home, you don't throw your bones with your plate with bones and rice straight into a soap water. You remove it, you take off the gross soil, you give it a rinse, and you put it in your soapy water. You don't jump in your shower with your clothes on. You take your clothes off, you put some water on there, then you put some soap on.
Yeah.
Every cleaning process should be the same. You rinse to remove gross soils or chemicals that are added. You soak to allow the detergent to break up that stubborn soil. And then that final rinse is to remove the residual detergent and or microorganisms that are in the water, and so be it. So it should go, the 3-bay rinse should be rinse, soak, wash, rinse.
Perfect.
In my opinion.
Jesse, that's
because quite honestly, the standards call it out exactly how you stated. It's wash, rinse, rinse.
Yeah.
And so the tech manuals, it calls it out as wash, rinse, rinse. But again, it negates the fact that we do pre-treatment, and I believe that standard was written before points of use treatment was a really big press. Point of use treatment. And if anyone who ever watched my Stir the Pot ever seen me talk about point of use treatment, I'm not a big fan or I don't heavily rely on point of use treatment because our IFUs are validated based on the cleaning process, not on point of use treatment.
Right. Yeah. And then once you mix those two chemicals together and something is to happen down the road with the patient, that's on you now. It's not
exactly. And again, if OSHA ever walks into your facility and decides that they want to audit, they're going to look at that and go, "Hey, can you show me
that's on you.
Where you can do this?"
Yeah, that's not on the manufacturer's plate anymore. So, Jesse, as an educator, what subject matter do you find the technicians, both new and experienced, struggle with the most, and how do you support that growth through education?
You know something?
Stir the pot.
Yeah. You know something? Honestly, they all struggle with following the policies, especially when it comes to seasoned technicians that we hire brand new into a facility. Every facility I've walked into does something different. Don't know why, don't know how. It's again, our standards call for something in black and white, and every facility does something different. Even from the simple task of wrapping a tray. Okay. No standard, no technician manual, nothing shows that the first fold you tuck under the tray. No technician manual shows that when you do the last 2 folds, you put a piece of tape on there to hold the folds over. But you see it constantly. And I wonder why. Why do we do this? Because it's human nature to make things easier for us. Simple as that. So it's very hard to really, as an educator, is go into a facility, look at the practices, and try to teach them the right thing and make it stick. Because the right thing in this industry is extremely hard and time consuming to do. If we do everything the right way, it takes time. Technology advances to make processes faster, but they never include what it takes on the back end to get there. We all talk about robotics, and we all know some of these robotic arms take 30 minutes to soak, and it takes an hour in the ultrasonic, et cetera, et cetera. But the OR wants it 20 minutes ago because they got patients going in because those surgeries are fast. Flexible endoscopes, another one. Processes take 72 minutes from beginning to end by studies. It shows. So if you ever read an IFU for well, you'll be reading a good chunk of IFUs. That's 100 steps in the cleaning of flexible endoscopes. And yes, it is drawn out, but I would love to walk into a facility that takes 72 minutes to clean endoscope. I would love to see that in practice. You'll see 5-10 minutes, and then you wonder why it's such a high infection rate, because they don't give us the time to do it. So the hardest thing to do and teach as an educator is doing the right thing.
And, you know, Jesse, like, old habits are hard to break too. When
Definitely.
like, senior staff and that, because they came in taught one way, and then a lot of them have trouble adapting to new standards. And yeah, at the end of the day, old habits are hard to break, but it is patience.
It is. Again, it's time consuming. It's very time consuming. When you're sitting there and you're doing something for a longer period of time, your attention span is gone, and it's like, you know, something I can do this faster and think you can get the right outcome.
But not like instrumentation wise, at the hospital that I work at, we do not have robotics yet. I don't think we ever will. We just don't, it's not the size. The rooms are just equipped for them. But we always tell ROR staff 3-hour turnaround. Like, and we try to preach, it's like, we're not going to rush our instrumentation for your lack of in patient scheduling, because we're not, like, we're here to keep the patient safe. We're not going to put the patient at risk because you booked XYZ and we only have X amount of instrumentation. So we always say 3-hour turnaround. And if it's a implant, it's longer. So
yeah, I agree. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times too, like, I don't know how it is in the States, but we still have a flashing option on our sterilizers. And a lot of the times we're like, nope, we're not doing it. Like, obviously, unless it's life or death, it would be a different situation. But they'd be like, oh, can you just flash this to turn it around faster? And it's like, no, wait, that's not a proper way. No, we're going to do it the right way. And luckily too, a lot of the sterilizers now in Canada, they've upgraded their flashing cycles. So some of them are only, I think, 12, 13 minutes shorter than a full process. And it's like, no, you're going to have the extra 13 minutes and things are going to be done properly.
Yes, that's exactly my point when it comes to flashing, now called IUSS here in the States. Okay, it's like you're not really saving that much time. You still have to go through the whole cleaning process. Okay, yeah, you can grab the item hot, but if you don't have that time in the back end, something's wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I remember when I first started many, many years ago, the flashing cycle, I kid you not, I believe it was like 22 minutes. So I am so happy that the manufacturing companies with the sterilizers have bumped that time up.
I know when I first started, flash was regular acceptable practice, but I gotta say, within the last 10 years, totally gotten away from it, and I can't remember the last time anything's been flashed in our facility, right? But,
no, it's same with ours. Yeah. It's been like a solid couple of years. And then even there's like 2 different cycles. So if it's a cannulated instrument to be flashing, that's pushing an hour. So I'm like, it can go in regular, and you guys will have to shuffle around your schedules.
And like Jesse touched on too, like, you know, if that OR, you know, isn't understanding of that, then, there's that choke point for sure. Right. But we've got them on board where we're working, and they know, like, they'll call up and say, oh, how long for this? You know what I mean? But it's not like they're not asking for it right now. Like, they know it's like, okay, we got to wait for how long, but how long is it going to be? You know what I mean? So at least they bought in with that, right? So we're not fighting that.
No, I agree.
Yeah. And Jesse, I know I had a chance to meet you a couple of years ago on Hank Belch, the decontamination micro-credential from Beyond Clean that Hank Belch and Lisa McCowan put on. You know, I know you were having some technical difficulties that day, but man, it was just cool to hear what you thought of it too. I just want to talk a bit about that to share with, Stace and our listeners, just how awesome of a course that is, right? So I just want to get your thoughts on it.
Yes. So when I think it's CCI that collaborated with Beyond Clean to get those micro credentials, and the first one was the decontamination one. When I seen it, they reached out to me and asked me about it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that'll be pretty cool." And when I wind up taking a course, it's pretty intense. It's like a college course, man. It's like you got to write essays, and I was like, "Whoa, man!" It wasn't.
But Jesse, you'll get more letters behind you. name.
Let me tell you something. I thought it was going to be, that's one of the letters I actually don't put behind my name, which I need to add up on there. But have to do your research and your homework on it. So yeah, it was very, very well worth it. After I was said and done with it, I felt like I was like deep dive. I took a really deep dive into decontamination with a better understanding and a better love for it. So yeah, if anyone is interested in doing it, I honestly 100% do it,
man.
Do it. You won't regret it.
That's right, man. Awesome to hear that enthusiasm, man, because, I showed my manager at the time I was taking it, and she said, "Oh my God, Barry, this is like a university course for MDR." I said, "Yeah." And you said the deep dive or whatever, right? Yeah, man. Like, it challenged me on every level, but, I came out of it, man, like confident, and I feel like I could give a presentation on bioburden and biofilm just because of it, right? Like, yeah, intense was a good word that you used.
Yes, it was definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's great. That's amazing to hear. We'll definitely have to share that on our page, Barry, for our listeners to sign up. So, now, Jesse, you're an outside the box thinker and constantly challenging the standards or industry norms. You have a program called Stir That Pot, as we kind of discussed at the beginning of the episode. Can you share with our audience just what you do and with that program?
So yeah, I mean, that program, it really is really not too much of a program. It's just a little segment on Instagram that I do. I mean, not on Instagram. I do it on Instagram as well, but I share it more on LinkedIn. Unfortunately, there'll be another Stir That Pot on that one. The title SME, I'm really not too happy with that title because it's self-given. So I just challenge what everyone thinks about what we're doing in the industry and how we just can get better. Like, why are we doing certain practices? Why are we not doing certain practices? And just give technicians, because they state that to be a good technician, you have to be able to be an analytical thinker. Not just a person that says, okay, go to decon, we rinse, wash, rinse. Well, why do we do that? We got to understand the why behind our processes. And that's what Stir the Pot came into, is to make people aware and understand why we do certain processes.
Perfect. That's amazing. Before we finish up here, Jesse, I enjoyed a little story back when you attended MDRAL with us. You did a little test on your own dishwasher at home, didn't you? Just to prove.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
I sure did.
Yes, with a certain test. I don't know if we'll name it here, but how's your take on that? Do you want to share a little bit of that with our listeners before?
I sure will. Definitely. I would love to.
And then Stir the Pot, Jesse. So let's do this.
Yes, definitely. So yes, a lot of what we do is, again, what most people don't understand is that sterile processing actually takes a lot of practices from the food industry. I worked the food industries for 20 years. So when I came into the medical field and I seen a lot of stuff that we're doing, and I'm like, and we're not doing, I was like, well, why are we not doing this? The food industry is doing this. Why aren't we doing this? Like, that's their regular standard. So a lot of the tests that we do on our washers and cart washers and ultrasonics, even our biologicals on our sterilizers. Again, a lot of those tests I look at and they're so easy to pass. I mean, it's ridiculously easy. So I take them home and say, hey, let me see if I can pass a biological in my Ninja. Let me see if I can pass something in my dishwasher. Let me see if I can buy an ultrasonic device from Amazon and pass these tests at home, and every single one of them pass. In I guess fairness with what we do at home. And again, I've challenged it with dollar store detergent versus the high-end market detergents, and I can pass every single test here in the U.S. Unfortunately, for our washers and all of our equipment, we try to do it the fastest way possible. Every brand new washer that comes out with a brand new cycle, the cycles get shorter and shorter and shorter, using the same exact detergent. And I'm like, how effective is that? Like, that doesn't give me any confidence whatsoever. Most of the tests that we do are done on empty washers. We don't send empty, we don't send 1 or 2 instruments through our washer. We load those washers to the maximum. So why isn't anyone creating a test to do with full loads to verify them? Rather than an empty load. Yeah, my spray arms are working and I get that. But if I can't pass it with a full load, then that test is pointless. Your dishwasher at home runs for at least 45 minutes or more. That's how European washers run. And that's how I believe all of our washers in our industry here in the U.S. should run. But you can't convince anybody to do that, because guess what? Those instruments come down filthy. We're dealing with multiple body fluids. The hardest thing to take off of at home, soil-wise, is dried on egg yolk. It might, and that's a very difficult soil but these little soil markers that we use here in the industry, run them underwater, running water. They come right off, so yeah, I tested at home and be like, something. Yeah, this isn't very confident for me. These tests are not very assuring to me.
No, actually, how you say that the cycles are getting shorter and shorter at the facility that I know of, new washers have went in, and let's say, for instance, a 40-minute cycle is now a 28-minute cycle.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. And if you look at,
why are we rushing? Why are we rushing?
Yeah, if you really look at those wash cycles too, it's like you're just spraying water and detergent for like 2-3 minutes. I'm like, what's that cleaning? Where's that cleaning?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Oh, Jesse, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on Beyond Clean Canada today, and we're so happy that you were able to join us. Is there anything that you would like to share with our audience before you leave? Any way for them to get in contact with you if they want to connect?
Of course. Well, I'm all over the place. I try to be all over the place. I'm on Instagram. You can follow me on both my pages. I'm under my own name, Jesse Lopez on Instagram. I also have a Instagram and YouTube channel called WDYD CSP, which stands for What Do You Do as a Central Sterile Processor? And that name came from people constantly asking me, when I say I'm a sterile processor, they go, what do you do? What do you do?
Actually, that should be some of your merch there, Jesse. What do you do?
Yeah, what do you do? And I'm also on LinkedIn, again, under my name. You can find me on LinkedIn. I do on YouTube. I do a lot on the WDYD channel. I do a lot of hands-on training to show you how to process different instruments and do different testing, how to set up trays, et cetera, et cetera. You can find a little bit of everything on there. And just for every technician out there, keep doing what you're doing, fight the fight, and continue learning. Don't ever stop learning, because when you stop learning is you cease to exist in anyone's eyes. And again, don't be afraid to challenge something that you believe is incorrect. Just make sure you have the wording to back up your beliefs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jesse. Oh my goodness, what a great episode with Jesse. He's always so full of life and so energetic. And like I had mentioned to you, Barry, it's just so nice to bring guests on that just spice things up. Like, as Jesse said, stir the pot.
Yeah, we want to share that passion. Jesse definitely brings that in like truckloads. And, he just comes from a different perspective a lot of the times where people might not necessarily...
They don't challenge it. Yeah.
Exactly, right.
Like kind of like we talked with Bill. It's like the unspoken topics, right? That people are afraid to talk about. But meanwhile, we got people like Jesse out there whom we need that are like, hold up, no.
100%. And like you said earlier too, like, what we're trying to do with our own podcast here is, at times we're going to play the role of disruptor as well. And, we're going to shine the light on those dark corners too, right? And, guests like that.
But that's where the conversations come. Absolutely. So such a great episode. Loved it. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Thanks again, Clean Freaks, for joining Stacey and Barry for another episode of the Beyond Clean Canada podcast. Today's episode was Jesse Lopez. Jesse's an educator and a disruptor, and, we hope he keeps on stirring that pot. Keep on fighting dirty.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond Clean Canada, your source for MDR content, education, and inspiration. If you enjoyed this conversation, we'd love to hear from you on the BCCA LinkedIn or Facebook page, or anywhere podcasts are heard. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating on your favorite app. And until we talk again, keep fighting dirty.